Interesting question. Let's look at this from a doylist point of view. To do that, we have to look at the narrative function of each of these characters. So you have Light and L. They're the cat and mouse characters. Their purpose is to always be one step ahead of the other. So, okay, both of them are playing control deck. And if they ended up facing each other, it would end up how control versus control matches usually end up, which is to say, a lot of waiting, a lot of waiting, a lot of waiting, and then suddenly someone wins. Who ends up winning? Probably Light. He won in his anime. Though really it could go either way, because you could use Yu-Gi-Oh! As sort of like a symbolic act like playing chess. Now Lelouch, on the other hand, Lelouch is a perfect duelist. Not only because he has the strategic mind to think several steps ahead, but because he's a cheater. The best Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists are always cheaters. Lelouch would geas the fuck out of his opponent, point at someone and go, concede. He'd force misplays like crazy. In fact, that's the sort of deck he would end up playing, a deck that has a lot of complicated board states that would force opponents' misplays and then capitalize on them. Of course, Lelouch is just as likely to throw matches if it gets him into a more advantageous position in, say, a match down the line. Lelouch is the sort of character who would lose just so he could get a better path through losers toward the finals. But then, of course, there's the question of who are these people actually dueling? Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists run the gamut from pretty interesting, like Judai, to a piece of cardboard, like Playmaker from Brain. And then you have to look at the narrative function of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Character. Certain Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters are just not allowed to lose, at which point they probably would not lose against Light or L or Lelouch. Remember that Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists are all about overcoming impossible odds. So no matter how smart Light, L, or Lelouch are, protagonists will probably end up beating them. Plus, like I said before, they cheat like crazy. You also have to think about character motivation. Light is only really interested in evading getting caught, and L is only really interested in catching Light. So in terms of interacting with any other character, Light won't really care if he wins or loses, he'll just use that win or loss to help protect his identity. And L also won't really care, he might care a little bit more than Light, but will use it as information gathering. Lelouch, on the other hand, is a big picture sort of person. He works toward revolution. In a Yu-Gi-Oh! Setting, because the stakes are always about a children's card game, this probably means changing the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played. Think of it as a much, much, much darker, murder-filled version of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7. And that just means that Lelouch is gonna go up against bigger Yu-Gi-Oh! Icons. Icons that L and Light probably won't care about. Anyway, that's my doylist take on this. It was a pretty fun thing to think about.